Coming up on today's swim episode.
Against rock wool whatsoever, so I'm not a hater, but I realized after doing some research, and I heard some studies about this, some of the studies have suggested that rock wool and some of the others that I just mentioned, they're just about as effective as that pink stuff.
This is Swim, Success with Music.
Yo, what's going on, music fam? This is Success with Music. I am Walt. I am your music coach. And again, welcome to our podcast, which is Swim, Success with Music. Hey, I appreciate you guys listening as always. And I do apologize. I've been away for a while, been working on a ton of new projects and a lot of different things. And actually, today I'm going to be talking about something I've been working through for the last few months or so, and that's building my studio. And specifically, we're going to talk about soundproofing. So as I've been going through this, doing a lot of research, talking to a lot of people, got quite a few different tips for you that will be helpful for you in terms of your home studio, whether it be a small setup or more of a larger involved setup. It's going to be pretty helpful. And for those of you who are new to our program, I encourage you to subscribe because once I get through this whole studio situation, we're going to be dropping content on a regular basis. All right, so let's get it. Hey, again, I appreciate you guys listening to the show. I'm going to go through some content, a lot of it for soundproofing. I'm going to go super fast because I have like a boatload of tips for you, and I'll talk about that in just a second. One thing, though, I do encourage you to, as always, to subscribe to the podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are also on Spotify. Also, if you could just follow us on Facebook or IG on the Instagram. You can find us with Success with Music, all one word, Success with Music. The reason why I'm saying that is we're going to be releasing a course pretty soon for you guys to demo or to take for free, absolutely free. So when we drop the course, we're going to let you guys know. So if you're subscribed to one of our platforms, you'll see when that time is. We're only going to do it just for a short while because we've updated some of our software. So we want to give some of you guys the opportunity to demo the new software platform to learn about music completely free. Once that period is over, it will go back to the regular price. So again, it may be a good time for you to jump in on some free content. And again, this is content that we actually charge for. So it's a good time to jump in, grab a few perks for just, listening to the show and following us on those platforms. Again, Success with Music on Facebook, on IG. And of course, you can subscribe to the podcast because we'll be talking about it there. All right, so we're talking about soundproofing today. I got my air quotes up, soundproofing, because in reality, the idea of soundproofing your studio, it's going to be a really, really, really tough way to go. I use the word soundproofing in quotes on purpose because it's really tough to soundproof a house, your room, your basement, even a commercial space of which I was in for quite a while. It's really tough unless you're starting from the ground up and you're doing some highly technical things in order to achieve that. So I put soundproofing in the title because a lot of times people throw that phrase around as though you can just soundproof your bedroom or your basement or whatever. In reality, you can't. So, and don't feel like I'm deceiving you here in the show title. I'm putting it out there because we are all chasing a really pristine, quiet environment to do our thing. And what I'm going to offer today is different levels of getting to that place. Now, a lot of it will depend on how much money you have, right? If you have all the money in the world, of course, you can build like the most quietest sound environment ever. But that's not where a lot of us are. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to go from zero or no or low money all the way up. And depending on where you are, I'm hoping that I can give you some ideas or some tips that you can implement to make your soundproofing, air quotes, a lot better and fit for doing your mixing and your editing and recording and things like that. All right, so as I said before, I'm going to go really fast because I have a boatload of tips. Fair warning, due to how much content we have in the show today, I do encourage you to check out the show notes for this episode, because what I'm going to do is give you a lot of links to these areas, to the things that I'm going to mention today, and that way you can go off and research these things. Know that these links are not official endorsements. I'm just sending you off into a direction to where you can actually start to do some more exploration on your own. So I'll give you some links to like Amazon, to YouTube, to some websites and things like that, so that you can explore each of the topics more thoroughly. All right, so again, we're starting with low or no money. If you are looking to get a better sound, especially when recording your guitar, recording vocals, and you just have a lot of ambient room noise, if you have low or no money, start with blankets. Yeah, blankets. Hang them up on your walls, preferably in a smaller space in your house, and use that as your fake vocal booth. Yeah, I mean, it sounds a little rough. Probably don't want any video footage of you doing, laying down vocals in that environment. But in terms of sound, you can probably get a really decent sound by hanging up a few blankets around your room. Another thing is, when you're recording your vocals in an environment like that, or you're doing your guitar or acoustic instrument, try to get that mic right up on the sound source to mitigate the ambient sound that's around that sound source, your voice or the guitar or what have you. And then you may want to watch your gain on your mic. You don't want to have it super hot as to pick up a lot of hiss and, again, that ambient room noise. The next thing is record in a closet, man. That is like a vocal booth from heaven when you are recording like in an apartment or in a house or in a place that's not very friendly to sound. A closet with a lot of clothes absolutely is a great place to go. And again, it's all about that sound absorption. And so when you're there recording in your closet, that's an environment where you can get really good, tight vocals. Again, if you're trying to do some guitar and things like that and some other instruments, you may have a hard time fitting that all into a closet. But hey, man, it may be something worth looking into. Next tip, throw up a mattress on the wall. Again, that sounds really not good, low tech. But hey, a few mattresses in a corner in your room and a mic sitting there, again, that is a way to go. I've known people to do this, and they come out with incredibly sweet recording takes, and you would have no idea that they've been sitting in front of a mattress, literally, and laying down some tracks. Next thing is you can go online for this. Look for bedding foam. Sometimes you'll find this down at one of your outlet stores or malls or whatever. The bedding that you have like on top of your mattress, like the little foam layer thing, it usually comes in a big roll. Some people call it egg carton foam. You can find that stuff like on Amazon. Again, that might be a good way to go. It may not look too cute, but again, it allows for some sound deadening in your recording space. So check it out. All right, next tip. If you happen to have a mobile setup, meaning like you record with your laptop, you happen to have like a USB mic, or maybe you use something like a Zoom mic, you can record vocals in your car. Go into a garage and lay down tracks. I'm telling you, I've personally witnessed and seen this happen, and I've heard some pretty good takes coming from a car. Because if you think about it, most cars do have some level of sound or acoustic treatment to keep like traffic noise out, engine noise out, and things like that. So if you're sitting there in your vehicle laying down a few tracks, that acoustic paneling built into your car may do your track some good. Next thing, you're probably really familiar with this, foam acoustic panels. You'll see these things all over online, like at Amazon and things like that. Those 12 by 12 black or charcoal color foam where they have like the ridges in them or the bubbles in them or whatever. And many times people will buy a whole box of them and hang them up in one big section on the wall. It's legit, right? It absorbs a lot of those reflections from your room. Again, it won't soundproof your room, but it will most certainly deaden that natural ambient reverb that occurs in your room. So again, acoustic foam panels, not a bad way to go. Next, I encourage you to build your own acoustic panels. So I put a link in the show notes for where you can look at a video from this guy that I think did a phenomenal job on creating these panels. I personally have some panels. Mine are professionally built. They're like 4 feet wide and about 5 feet, maybe even 6 feet high. They're really large, but great for absorbing and deadening sound in your room. On that video, if you look at it, this guy, he basically takes Roxol, rock wool, or mineral insulation, and we can talk more about that in just a second, but he puts that inside of a wood frame and then wrap it with burlap. And when it's done, I mean, it looks sweet, it looks professional, and again, a great way of creating a quieter recording environment. And one more note about that, once you have your panel finished, you can use one as a cloud. And if you're not familiar with that term, it's when you have an acoustic panel or some type of acoustic treatment hanging directly over your recording desk. So as you're sitting there in front of your monitors, some of the sound will go up to your ceiling and bounce off and come back down, and creating these weird deflections in your room. So if you have this cloud or this panel directly above your head, it can mitigate some of the bouncing frequencies in your room, again, gaining more control over what you're actually hearing when you're doing your mixing and observing what you've recorded. Next thing, bass traps. If you're not familiar, bass traps typically go in the corner. They are these large wedge-shaped contraptions that basically suck up some of the roaming bass frequencies or low-end frequencies in your room. I'm not going to go through all of the physics of it here, but it does, again, gain control over the lower frequencies, which happen to build up in the corners of your room, giving you an imbalanced perception of your low end. Again, this is not going to necessarily keep out outside noise, but it's more of dealing with the noise within your room. So having bass traps in your recording environment is worth looking into. Next thing, sound diffusers. And you've probably seen these. If you're not familiar with this term, you've seen them like a billion times. There's this one style of sound diffuser where it looks like artwork. It's typically hanging on the wall, and it's all these blocks or cubes, typically wood, and they're at varying heights. And it's typically like a rectangular shape, and you'll see it hanging on the back wall. I've seen them on ceilings. I've seen them behind the monitor. Even though it looks pretty sweet from an aesthetic standpoint, it has a function. It creates more of a cleaner sound within your recording environment. According to Acoustical Solutions, sound diffusers are designed to scatter and disperse sound waves, thereby reducing standing waves and echoes to improve sound clarity. So in short, they act as the surfaces that do not reflect sound very readily, lessening that echoey type of sound that you would have when you're recording vocals. You can buy these online. A friend of mine, he literally got an algorithm online, and he started to cut up wood blocks and got some glue, and he's building his own. So this is something that you could do on your own. It will take a long time, but if done right, and if you follow the directions, you can wind up having a pretty sweet sound diffuser. All right, so let's go ahead and move over into some more advanced sound treatment techniques. And these things will really mitigate incoming and outgoing sound from your studio. And again, this is going to be more on the expensive side. And this is probably going to require doing some light construction or some building with someone that's pretty sweet with the carpentry skills. Let's say you're building a space in your basement, or you're demoing a room in your house. You can most certainly get insulation in the walls of your studio. I do want to bring up something here, and this one I'm going to have to footnote with a link